If Carrie Lake is your governor, we know what she'll be focused on because Donald Trump told us. He said if somebody asks Carrie, how's your family? She says the election was rigged and stolen.
One of my favorite guys in the world, one of the most patriotic men I know. I call him a modern-day George Washington.
Back in November of 2020, it started right here, and it's going to end right here.
Welcome back to Square Off and our midterm election preview. That was quite a contrast last week. The Democratic and Republican campaigns brought in their closers, prominent speakers to close the deal with voters. On the Democratic side, former President Barack Obama called out Carrie Lake's lies about the 2020 election. On the Republican side, Lake brought in a surprise guest, Steve Bannon, one of the leading promoters of those lies and alleged architect of the January 6th insurrection. Bannon's been sentenced to 4 months in jail for criminal contempt on Congress. He is out on appeal and doing stuff like that. In politics, that is called a contrast. Joining us now to discuss that contrast and the questions surrounding this election are Stacy Pearson, Democratic consultant and co-founder of Lumen Strategies, and Marcus Dell'Artino, former John McCain staffer and Republican consultant at First Strategic Communications. Welcome back to Square Off at this momentous moment. Quick disclosure time. Are either of you formally working on any of the campaigns or issues we're going to talk about?
No, we don't do candidates.
You don't do candidates. Lucky
God.
you. We're not going to do predictions, by the way, today. Just so everybody knows, yes, because these races, frankly, are so hard to predict. Polls, if you believe the polls, most of them indicate it's a toss-up. Why are these races so hard to predict this year?
Well, we've got the strangest environment we've ever had in Arizona. And to get an accurate poll, you need so many respondents. And we have an entire generation of people in Gen X who were told to never answer their phones. Since we were latchkey kids, we didn't pick up. And we certainly need readers now, so we're not answering any polls on our telephones.
Marcus, can we predict anything with any degree of confidence about any of the statewide races?
No, here's what it comes down to. I've been talking about this for months because we all knew that this would be close. It's a turnout fight. And so there's no way to predict that accurately. Who is going to show up? Is there a massive surge in independents? Right now, the evidence supports that there's not a huge surge, but that could change on election.
In independent voters.
Right. Is there a huge surge in women voters? Right now, the evidence doesn't support that there is. But everything can change on Tuesday, and that's why it's so hard to predict these races.
But it does seem there right now we're on track for a record overall turnout when you look at the early ballots returned.
Right. I think we will have a set record turnout, but that will be because of the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, not necessarily because of the independents. And let's remember the roller coaster that we've gone through that have sort of changed the dynamics of this race. I mean, a couple months ago, all we talked about was abortion and Roe v. Wade. And then all of a sudden, you know, the Fed has been ticking up interest rates like once a week. And so the dynamics of the race has changed. Abortion sort of went by the way of the side, or by the wayside, and now we're talking about inflation, we're talking about a possible recession, and that's totally changed the direction of the election and helped Republicans, frankly.
So let's stay on that topic because Democrats want to make the race about abortion and democracy. Is that working?
It needs to. I certainly hope so. I mean, when we're talking about election deniers on the top of the ticket on the Republican side, it is a fight for democracy. We've got actual candidates against caricatures, and that's the scariest. I think that's the scariest thing we're looking at.
And that's why all eyes are on Arizona. This is kind of a referendum on Donald Trump in many ways.
Well, I think there's many states where there's, you know, the same scenario is playing out. And frankly, we've got like a nationalization of elections happening here. It wasn't too all that long ago that a race in Arizona, we talked about Arizona-specific issues, and you raised your money within Arizona, and it was sort of a grassroots movement. Now, there's out-of-state money in every state that's sort of influencing these elections, both on the right and the left. I mean, nobody's got the corner on that.
But no other state has a statewide ticket filled with candidates who've pledged allegiance to Donald Trump and are all in on election denialism. So it's not just a referendum on Trump, it's almost a referendum on democracy. And I just wonder, capital D democracy, does that resonate with voters? Was that the best way to present this in this campaign?
Older voters, certainly. How you get into Gen X and whether or not you can even open the vault to figure out what Gen X is thinking is something else. And those are your ticket splitters. They're the folks who, if they were raised like a Democrat like I was, didn't see Dad's pension work out the way it was promised. They were raised as Republicans, trickle down didn't work for them either. And so these are the least loyal to party, but likely to vote generation that no one's really been able to figure out.
We're going to talk about ticket splitters in our next segment because I think they're just fascinating in this election. I want to talk now about Bob Robb, former conservative columnist with the Arizona Republic. He made the point in the Wall Street Journal in an op-ed that this election shouldn't be as close as the polling says it is, and he blames the Trump ticket. Here's what he said. The reason Republicans aren't winning in a romp is another national trend, the Trump effect. In probably no other state has Mr. Trump succeeded more in making the election about him than in Arizona. Is Bob Robb right that in an alternate universe, Karen Taylor Robson, who lost the Republican primary to Kari Lake, would be well ahead of Katie Hobbs?
You know, that's certainly the popular thought, and I'm not too sure that that's true. You know, and every race is different, every candidate's different, but the dynamics in this race have changed. As I said, I mean, look, the interest rates climbing, people are wondering about their mortgage payments, but abortion on the other side seems to be having an effect. Democracy is having an effect. The fact of the matter is, I mean, look at the polls. We're as tight as you can possibly be on every race, not just a governor's race. Mark Kelly's in a battle for his life. He's been ahead on every single poll, and there's a good chance that Blake Masters is going to be able to close. So I don't think you can just chalk this up to one factor like Donald Trump.
Oh.
What do you think? You think Bob Robb's right or wrong?
I think Bob Robb's right. And Arizona has been a testing ground for extremism. And this goes back to Arpaio. And Arizona voters have come through since 2016 in making sure the extremist candidate lost. We stopped with Arpaio when Penzone beat him. Then it was very, very close in 2012 even in the Penzone-Arpaio race. So I think those are good indications that these candidates falter